Alrighty, good morning to those in the Philippines, Hong Kong, and possibly even Vietnam. Today we're going to be discussing Tropical Storm Fengshen, also known as Ramil. I am just going to share this stream on multiple platforms. In the meantime, if you have any questions about the storm and that you'd like answer, you can ask them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them in the later part of the stream. Okay, we have a new rainfall advisory, which I'll pull up in a bit. There's also a storm surge warning, which I'll touch on in a bit as well, but for right now, I'm just sharing the stream on multiple platforms. Let me just make sure that this is working. Alright, hi Aiden, and hi Chester. This is working. Alright, so let's get right into it. So this is the forecast for Tropical Storm Fengshen, also known as Ramil. It's an unofficial forecast here with the impacts overlaid on it. And let me discuss the forecast first. It is expected to make landfall as a tropical storm within the next 12 hours. Let me see what area that is. That is going to be the Catanduanes, as a tropical storm, and then reemerge into the Philippine Sea, intensify even further as a tropical storm, before making landfall somewhere in Isabela province as a moderate or even severe tropical storm within the next 24 hours. The storm will then move across into the Ilocos region, then into the South China Sea by hour 36 as a tropical storm, weaken slightly, but then it's expected to intensify into a typhoon by day 3 out in the open South China Sea, before it begins to take a dive towards the southwest and really begins to weaken. This is a very low-end tropical storm here, nearly tropical depression, and it should be dissipating by the time it starts nearing Vietnam. Now, discussing the impacts, there is this broad area of marginal impacts for a majority of Luzon, excluding the northwestern portions of it and the southwestern portions of it. And it also is an area along the coast of Guangdong province, and as well as Hong Kong there could see moderate impacts, mainly in the form of rain in those outer bands, and a little area here in Hainan Islands, mainly a mixture again of rain and wind. There is also a corridor of slight impacts, and this is a majority of rain and wind right here along the coast of, that would be Aurora province, I believe, yes. And as well as the Cagayan area in the northeastern portions of Luzon. That is more so for rain, as well as these areas more inland of central Luzon in that slight category. Nothing really else in slight or moderate impacts out beyond that. It's mainly, it seems to be a Philippine threat. So let's get into the world of tropics right now. What's going on across the world? In the North Atlantic, we have a tropical wave here with a 40% chance of development as it meanders into the Caribbean. Could see some impacts on some of those Caribbean islands in the Greater Antilles. There is also an area of interest here with a 20% chance of development. Could see something subtropical out of it as it meanders north of the Azores Islands. In the Eastern Pacific, we have Invest 91E down to a 20% chance of tropical developments. And in the Central Pacific / Eastern Pacific, we have the post-tropical remnants of Nacre, which are moving off towards Atlantic Canada, or Pacific Canada, and parts of southeastern Alaska. Which we already saw a typhoon impact western Alaska not too long ago. That was Halong. And in the Western Pacific, we of course have Tropical Storm Fengshen, or Ramil, and we also have an area of interest to the east of Taiwan with a 10% chance of development over the next 7 days. In the North Indian Ocean, specifically the Arabian Sea, we have an area of interest here with a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 30% chance over the next 7 days as it meanders westwards. In the Bay of Bengal, we have an area of interest here with a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days as the system meanders towards southeastern India. In the South Indian Ocean, we have a 94S, which I believe is now 04S by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. That is going to be meandering westwards. It could pose a threat to Madagascar or Tanzania, but it's a little bit far out to say for sure. Of course, there will be more updates over the coming days on that system if it seems like it will be threatening anywhere. And to the east of that, there's an area of interest here with a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days, just to the southwest of Indonesia. We are currently code red for Tropical Storm Fengshen, and that is it for land threats right now. Now let's take a look at some of the visible imagery on Fengshen here, or Ramil. We can see a lot of convective burst over here, and this has just become a tropical cyclone recently. Has a confirmed low-level center of circulation here just northeast of, I don't remember what island that is. Let me just double check. Samar. And we can see those convective bursts continuing to fire that. And what that's going to be doing is that's actually going to be pulling the center a little bit more south than what is being forecasted by multiple agencies. And on here we can see those convective bursts pretty clearly here recently, firing directly over the center and kind of starting to tug that center down towards the south near Samar, which this could help prevents it from strengthening as much because it will be forced over these islands. The problem is though is that this will shift the target more towards Metro Manila, which is very susceptible to flooding. Now let's see, why is it intensifying? Well, the waters are very warm here, 29 to 30 degrees Celsius, and it will remain that way until it crosses the Philippines and even as it enters parts of the South China Sea, although the waters will be beginning to cool in the South China Sea due to some other storms that have passed over. You can see the sea surface temperatures go from around 30 down to around 28 or 27 degrees Celsius. Other reasons for the strengthening as well. I mean, the wind shear is going to be very low, so it does have a great opportunity to intensify over the next few days. But by the time it enters the South China Sea, conditions start to become a little bit more unfavorable, and that's why it looks like a typhoon peak. Before then, wind shear just becomes too unfavorable, and dry air starts to get to it. Now let's take a look at the distances from certain areas here. It is currently around 130 kilometers northeast of Samar, roughly around 530 kilometers away from Metro Manila, and around 510 kilometers away from Aurora, where it will likely make landfall. From Hong Kong, it's very far. It's 1,600 kilometers away, Hainan Island around 1,700 kilometers away, and Vietnam 1,800 and 1,900 kilometers away. Now let's take a look at some of these model runs here. This is the latest GFS model run on it. Never mind, that's not the latest one. Let me pull up the latest one here. Just checking, yes, these are the latest ones. Now, they are not initializing as well as they could be, and they do have a little bit more to the north. This is the latest GFS run, making landfall likely in Isabela province as a strong tropical storm, before intensifying to a typhoon, maybe even Category 2, before meandering to the southwest. It does clip Hainan Island as a potential typhoon, and then enters or moves towards Vietnam there as a weak tropical system. Nothing ends up developing east of Taiwan in this model run. The Canadian run does do a little bit of a better job at initializing it, has it as a tropical cyclone, making landfall around the border of Isabela province and Aurora province, before entering the South China Sea pretty far north. It almost enters the Luzon Strait there, impacts the Babuan Islands, before it meanders westwards, does not become a typhoon, and then quickly weakens and moves towards Vietnam there as a remnant low. The latest European run on it also initializes pretty well on it. Has it becoming just a weak tropical storm making landfall in Aurora before entering the South China Sea, potentially becoming a typhoon there before stalling a lot. And that's why there's that rain threat for parts of Hong Kong there. If it stalls like that, those outer bands will be pummeling Hong Kong for a while. But the system will then meander to the southwest of Hainan Island, and then reach Vietnam as a remnant low or a very weak tropical cyclone. Also, nothing forms next to Taiwan on that run. The latest German run also does a good job on initialization here, has it as a weak tropical storm impacting Aurora, and then meanders in the South China Sea, doesn't really get going too much before it meanders to the southwest towards Vietnam. Now, looking at the ensembles, it is pretty certain as to where it's going to go. It is going to be meandering southwest as it enters the South China Sea, so it doesn't look like any direct impacts for Hong Kong. We can see that right on... No, that's not the... Is this the correct thing? This is a little bit out of date, but is there any more? Okay, I don't know if this has not updated in a while or what's going on with this. Even some of these other ensembles aren't really updating on there. But if we show the American ensembles, for example, it's pretty clear it's going to meander to the southwest, maybe clips Hainan Island, but it should have time to weaken before it impacts anywhere such as Vietnam. Now, I do want to touch on what the European AI model is showing here. It does have it becoming a possible typhoon, meanders to the southwest, dissipates, but there is also a brief, potentially subtropical or tropical cyclone that develops to the east of Taiwan, meanders towards the Batanes Islands and the Luzon Strait before dissipating. After that, not seeing a whole lot. I have noticed some of the Google AI members do want this next little wave to develop. You can kind of see it right there on here, this little wave. Could see something out of that. Let's see here. Yeah, could see something briefly out of that. Not seeing a whole lot of a signal though. So, and also it's beyond the 7-day range, so I haven't marked anything with that. And I do want to touch on the wind threats over the next few days here. Let's go to kilometers an hour and let's show the next 5 days here as to what some of these models are showing. This is the European run, showing wind accumulations in parts of the Cagayan region, up winds of up to 80 kilometers an hour, and near the Babwan Islands up to 90 kilometers an hour. Offshore of Hong Kong, winds of up to 170 kilometers an hour, and parts of Hong Kong there gets around 90 kilometer an hour wind gust at max. Hainan Islands on this run gets up to 70 kilometers an hour. Not seeing a whole lot of wind on this run. If we show the American run, let's see what's different on that. It's fairly similar, nothing too different. German run, just checking what this shows, fairly similar as well. And let's see the access model. Yeah, it's pretty similar. Nothing too big on the wind threats. Now, if we show the rainfall over the next 5 days here, rainfall accumulations, let's start out with the access model, discussing the Philippines here. Some of these areas along coastal Aurora could see up to 200 to 300 millimeters of rain, and some isolated areas of up to possibly 400 millimeters of rain. Of course, as you go further inland towards Mountain Province, all the mountains there, up to 250 millimeters as well. Metro Manila and Quezon City get around 50 millimeters of rain there. Interesting to see Vietnam getting a tremendous amount of rain on this run, mainly over the next few days actually. This isn't even from the system. I'm curious if I missed something there. It looks like they're going to get a decent amount of rain over the next few days, so some areas here could see over 700 millimeters of rain. It's quite impressive, and the system is not going to be helping with that. Pouring more salt on the wound. Anyways, here's the European run, again showing higher totals in parts of northern Luzon, rainfall totals of up to 200 millimeters. But when we get towards Hong Kong, there could also be another maximum there of up to 150 to 200 millimeters of rain. Thankfully, though, just offshore is where those higher amounts of up to 700 millimeters of rain are located. The American run here does show areas in Isabela province getting up to 250 millimeters of rain, including parts of northern Aurora. And then again, for parts of the South China Sea, rainfall totals of over 700 millimeters, but no rain on this run for Hong Kong. So it just shows the variability there. Parts of Taiwan could get a lot of rain, though, up to 500 millimeters, but that's from a different system. And lastly, showing the German run here, some spots here near, getting closer to Manila, could get up to 200 millimeters of rain. And again, offshore in the South China Sea, up to 700 millimeters of rain. No rain really at all for Hong Kong on this run, or Hainan Island. It just shows the variability of the system. How close does it get to Hong Kong, and how much does it stall in the South China Sea? And how large does it grow after hitting the Philippines? And I do want to discuss the latest Pagasa forecast. Let me see, there may be a new one out. I don't think so, though. I haven't heard anything just yet. But this is the latest Pagasa forecast, having it as a tropical storm, meandering just north to the Catanduanes and making landfall in Aurora there as a tropical storm. This would be in around noonish or late morning on Sunday, before it begins to enter the South China Sea on Sunday evening into Sunday night, becomes a severe tropical storm on Tuesday morning, before it remains as a severe tropical storm, surprisingly, on this model run here. Up until Thursday, it appears. I feel like it will weaken a lot more by then, becoming a weak tropical storm, barely holding on to that status. Now, discussing signal warnings here, there are signal 2 warnings for the Catanduanes and Camarines Norte and Polillo Island, and a bunch of signal 1 warnings in effect for the northern Luzon, pretty much the entirety of Luzon, excluding southwestern Luzon, including Metro Manila. And it does also include the Babwan group of islands. I do want to touch on the storm surge warning. There is a storm surge warning for 1 to 2 meters of surge here. A lot of the parts of northern Samar here and a majority of Luzon is in that as well, excluding Cagayan there and Ilocos Norte. But a lot of these areas as well on the western portions of Luzon are also in that storm surge warning. And I do want to touch on the rainfall that the system is going to be delivering, because there's a new outlook or new graphic that was just posted on that, so that I will show you all. This is going to be for today up until tomorrow at noon. This is the rainfall forecast. So around 100 to 200 millimeters of rain are expected for eastern and northern Samar. A majority of southeastern Luzon and eastern Luzon, including Aurora and Isabela and Quezon, there, and an area of 50 to 100 millimeters, including a lot more of these areas in the Visayas region, including Masbate, Leyte, and Cebu. And then also portions of central Luzon, and it does include Metro Manila in this. Now, if we show tomorrow's forecast, which would be tomorrow noon to Monday at noon, this is mainly just northern Luzon, getting around 50 to 100 millimeters of rain. This is because the system is then leaving the area by then. Again, looking at the forecast, this would be from Sunday at noon, which means Sunday at noon right around here to then Monday at noon right around, let me make sure that's right. Yes, up until here. So by this point, the storm is leaving the area pretty much. Now let me see if there's a new Pagasa forecast out just yet. I'm going to look off screen. Nope, nothing new just yet. So let's get to answering some questions. Thank you all so much for waiting. Masbate, thank you. Masbate. Thank you guys so much for the pronunciation there. Let me just make sure.
Masbate.
Masbate. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Learning more about geography in the Philippines. Aiden asked a good question. Is Hong Kong going to be affected? There is a possibility there that they do get marginal impacts, and that will be due to rain. Not really anything with the wind, I don't think. Maybe a mixture, some light rain, light flooding, and possibly some gusty winds will be possible for parts of Hong Kong. Nothing bigger than that, though, really. It is expected to stay far to the south here. They're not even in the cone of uncertainty for the center of the storm, so they should be fine. At marginal impacts at most. That's Hey Zen Numbers. How are you doing? Catanduanes. Okay, Catanduanes. Yes, Mr. Peach mentions it is dipping south right now, and that's why the forecast will likely get a little bit adjusted more to the south here. These forecasts here may be a little bit more to the north than what I should have gone with, but as well, Pegasa's doing the same thing there, and I believe they went a little bit more to the north than me, actually. It's getting tugged a little bit more to the south. Let's see. Oh no, wait, why are people saying typo, Yagi? Oh wait, never mind. Sorry. Okay, I thought I made a mistake. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's not Yagi. Don't worry. It's not going to be a Yagi repeats. It's going to be weakening by the time it enters, or by the time it approaches Vietnam and Hainan Island. So it should not really be a Yagi repeat at it by any means. The environment's just too unfavorable for it. Yeah, Ramil could become a typhoon, though, in the South China Sea. Just a brief typhoon. Let's see here. Is there a tropical disturbance in the North Atlantic? Yes, there are two tropical disturbances there. One with a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours, like before it enters or before it impacts the Leeward Islands, and then a 40% chance in total over the next 7 days. That could threaten a lot of areas, but it's very uncertain this far out, so I haven't really discussed it too much. There will be more updates on that over the coming days if it becomes more of a threat after Fengshen. Yeah, slash Ramil. There is also a disturbance here in the North Atlantic, mainly in the subtropical Atlantic, that could become a subtropical cyclone. How big is Fengshen's circulation? Well, let's take a look here. Okay, here is the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast on it that's just come out. They do have it as a tropical depression, becomes a tropical storm over the next 12 hours, becomes a severe tropical storm by the time it makes landfall in Aurora, or just to the south there. So that's a good forecast. That's pretty much what I've been forecasting. Just a little bit higher there. Enters as a weak tropical storm, quickly intensifies into a typhoon. This would be Wednesday morning for y'all in the Philippines, and then starts to quickly weaken as it meanders to the southwest. So this is their latest forecast cone on where it will go. Manila is pretty much like on the border of that cone. So if it continues to shift a little bit farther to the south, they could see more severe impacts. Yes, there is a tropical cyclone in the Indian Ocean. We can briefly look at that. That is O4S right now. Just became a tropical cyclone as of 0 Zulu time. And I don't know if there's any forecast that I can see from Mateo, France. I'm going to look it up off screen if they have any forecast cones for it. Oh, and did the Joint Typhoon Warning Center issue a forecast cone? Yes, they did, yes. It's going to be meandering to the southwest there, becoming a moderate tropical storm before it begins to weaken before nearing Madagascar. So we have a lot of time to watch this system. It shouldn't become anything big, but it's pretty impressive getting 5 tropical cyclones because the Joint Typhoon Warning Center did miss one. So 5 tropical cyclones, and it's only October now for them. Okay, yes, and I can pull this up as well. This is the Mateo, France forecast for the system. See it in it's not near Madagascar within the next 5 days, so they do have time to watch that. But if we take a look at the European AI model run on it, to where it's going, it looks like it's going to be mostly doing or moving due west. Could impact Tanzania, but that's within the next 10 days or so, so it's far out. Within the next 7 days, though, kind of uncertain as to where it's going to go. How close does it get to Madagascar? These are the last model runs over the past day. The last 3 have been away from Madagascar. Oh, and yes, somebody asked, how big is the circulation of Fengshen? Sorry about that. Just saw the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast here. So I mainly look at the radius of the closed isobar here. Let me stop the wind here. This is a little bit laggy. I'll refresh it. Let's see. So I mean, it's overall a broad area of low pressure here, but its circulation size isn't too big. Its radius is probably about 300 to 400 kilometers wide. So its diameter is probably around 800 kilometers wide. Let's see what else. Caribbean system could become a major hurricane. It's far out to say that. I can briefly touch on the Google AI on what it wants. Again, it's very uncertain. If it stalls in the southwestern Caribbean, I can definitely see that happening. But if it guns it off towards the northeast very early on, towards Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, I don't really see that happening. Maybe a brief jet interaction intensifies it quickly, but it really needs to stall in the southwestern Atlantic or southwestern Caribbean for it to really intensify into a major hurricane. You can see those ensemble members wanting a Category 4 or 5 out of it, those purple colors. Yes, it's a westerly wind burst event in the Indian Ocean. What's the next name in the Indian Ocean? I am not sure. Any updates on the North Indian Ocean and South Indian Ocean? Can touch on that. Because there are 4 systems in those basins. There's this one that's going to be meandering to the west there, only a 30% chance of development. There's one in the Bay of Bengal there with a 40% chance of development. I'll probably touch on that because that could pose a threat to India. So touching on some of the model runs, this is the European AI model. Not really showing a whole lot. It doesn't happen until the 10-day range that it really becomes anything. But if we take a look at some of these other ensembles, like the European ensembles, we go a little bit before that. You could see a weak signal happening over the next 7 to 10 days, but if we pull up the American ensembles, this is a lot more bullish here. Some of them have it becoming a tropical cyclone within the next 3 days. Some of it has it as a Category 1 cyclone making landfall there, so it's a much stronger signal on the American ensembles. Catanduanes. Okay. Ca. Okay, here. I'm gonna search that up. I'm gonna learn how to pronounce that. Okay, found someone on Instagram. That's the only results that it gave me. I butchered the spelling. Okay. Yeah, okay, because it's not a K. All right.
Catanduanes.
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 Catanduanes. Catanduanes. Not Catawanas. Okay, Catanduanes. Catanduanes. So pulling this up here, the Catanduanes. Catanduanes. Catanduanes.
Catanduanes.
Catanduanes.
Catanduanes.
Catanduanes. Okay, I think I got that. Let me know if I'm butchering it. Is Rizzo going to be in signal number 1 soon? Let me find out where that is briefly. Rizzo's over there. They're to the west of Kazan, so let me pull up the signal warnings there. They could. Honestly, I think so, because the system has been shifting a little bit more to the south, so we will likely see an expansion of the signal warnings more to the southwest. So I do believe a signal 1 or even 2 warning will be possible for you. Signal 3 is a bit of a stretch there, but I think Metro Manila as well, signal 1 or 2. I really wouldn't doubt. I really wouldn't bet against that. Yep, Noah, don't worry. I'm answering the questions. If you guys are leaving questions, I am answering them as quickly as I can. I'm going question by question in the order. Yes, the sun southwest shift is going to really put some of these areas that aren't under signal warnings under the gun for impacts. So these areas such as Metro Manila, Quezon, all these areas down here, and parts of Mindoro could see more rainfall as well due to this. Because the current forecast is kind of like this, although it may shift down a little bit more to the south. So these little borders here of signal warnings have to be shifted more to the south here. So if I show you all like this, probably signal 1 warnings if I go from there to there. Yeah, Metro Manila would be in that signal 1 warning. Rizal as well. So yes, that is important there. Will there be a live stream tomorrow? I doubt. It all depends on how much popularity the system is getting. It's really not anything big in terms of rain and wind, so it's not too much of a concern. I doubt it. Maybe one in 2 days from now, but by then the code might start to dwindle. We'll see. This will probably be the last stream really covering it there. Let's see. Does Ramil have a chance to make landfall in Hong Kong? No. None of the ensemble members really show anything like that. It is going to stay well to the south of Hong Kong. But some marginal impacts could happen in some of those outer bands. If I show you all the rainfall forecasts from the European run over the next 5 days, you can see how there's these areas down here up to 700 millimeters of rain, but then some of those outer bands do reach Hong Kong, gives them totals up to 150 to 200 millimeters of rain are possible. Are any of you guys watching from Hong Kong? I should probably do a poll next time of what country you guys are watching from. But result could get in signal 2 warnings. That is possible. Any update on the Eastern Pacific should remain quiet. And if I just show you all the European AI model on this here in the Eastern Pacific, yeah, 91E really fell off. It wasn't really anything big. European AI model didn't really support a whole lot there. I don't want to know why the National Hurricane Center went with 60%, but afterwards it's going to remain quiet, which is nice. Let's see here. Yeah, result could get signal 1 to 2 warnings. Let's see here, guys. I'm getting to your questions. Caribbean system could become Sandy 2.0. I doubt it. It's too far out for that. T8. What is T8? I'm going to search this up real quick. Hong Kong T8. Okay, tropical cyclone wind signals. I'm going to look at this real quick. Okay, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to get gale force winds. Yeah, like I'm not too sure about this. It's a little bit. I don't know much about their signals and things like that. But in terms of impacts, though, it does look like that they could see marginal impacts. So maybe tropical storm force winds are possible, but it's mainly a rain threats for them. Will Ramil go upward and possibly cross Benguets? Let me pull up the map here of signal warnings to find out where Benguets is again. Oops. Yep, right there. I doubt it. It's been getting tugged actually to the southwest, so it may go even more to the south than forecasted. They, if they're on that northern quadrant, though, they are going to get stronger winds because you factor in the forward motion as well. Pretty much, you add the forward motion, so that winds plus this winds the direction it's moving. Whereas this side, it's subtracting this motion from it. So pretty much the northern side of it is going to get the worst winds and probably worse rain as well. So if it does go to the south of you, you still will see impacts. Let's see what other questions here. Is the hurricane season in the Atlantic waking up a bit? It is, I'd say, briefly. There will be another, phase of activity, mainly with this system, but that's probably it for the Atlantic hurricane season after this signal. Again, it's very uncertain as to what it's going to do. Yeah, I mean, the environment in the Atlantic does get a lot more unfavorable and a lot more hostile. After this system, you'll see the wind shear spike a lot there in the main development regions. Really not that great. Gulf of Mexico as well is a disaster there. So really, this is the last chance pretty much for the system or for the basin. How strong are the winds in Ramil right now? They are around 40 miles an hour. That would be, not quite sure how many kilometers an hour that would be. Oops. I think around 65 kilometers an hour. Sustained winds. No, signal number one is, I believe, tropical depression. Signal two, category one's only signal four warnings, I believe, for typhoon force winds. Any update from Pagasa? I can take a look. No updates from Pagasa just yet. Yes, Richui, I know you from the Discord. And speaking of which, if you guys like oh my, whoa. Okay, sorry, I gotta pull up this Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast. Whoa, their uncertainty is so high. Oh, wow, okay. I didn't realize it was that bad. Oh man, okay, they have no idea where it's going. Okay. Wow. So, with this, it looks like, yeah, tropical storm force winds are likely for parts of Hong Kong. Whoa, okay, and yeah, and Hainan Island, and wow, alright. Well, yeah, they have no clue where it's going. This cone is massive. Okay. Wow. I'd love to see their reasoning behind this. I doubt they have posted anything about it, though. Their reasoning. Nope, nothing yet. Man, okay. The way to Thailand and southern Vietnam. Wow. Okay, this is probably one of the largest cones I've seen. Alright, yeah, anyways, guys, if you like tracking these tropical cyclones across the globe, I do have a Discord server if you would all like to join. There's a verification channel, so it may take me a little bit to verify you all. Um, but if you have Discord, if you know what that is and you want to join, I'll send a link in the channel or in the chat. There, just say in the verification channel you came from the stream, and I will verify you as quickly as I can. It means you need to be 13 or older to join. Andrew asked if Ramil could become a Category 1 before making landfall in Aurora or Isabella. It could. I think it's unlikely, though. I think there's a very slim possibility. I feel like that possibility is dwindling, though. Let me look at the consensus here from Google AI's Ensembles on intensity. If anything has it becoming a typhoon. Let's see, really only one out of the 50 members have it becoming a typhoon, and that's only if it goes on the northern end of that forecast. If you notice here, some of these brighter colors are more on the northern side of it because if it stays over water longer, it's going to give it more time to intensify. But because it's getting tugged to the southwest, it's really limiting that chance to intensify further. So I don't think it's going to be a Category 1. Fengshen, yeah, I'm not sure what gender that name is either. All right, if guys, again, if you have any questions, just let me know and I will gladly answer them. Speaking of when the next update will be, I would assume potentially it might even be um, of this system again in the next 2 days because it still might be a threat by the time it's leaving Luzon there. And we may discuss another tropical cyclone as well, or may primarily focus on that system. We'll see. Looking at this system though, some of them do clip Madagascar there. That's a stronger one of those ensemble members. I'm going to see what category that is. That's like Category 2, I believe. Right over here. Yeah, that's a Category 2 striking Madagascar within the next 7 days. So I don't think that's going to happen, but that's something to look out for. Just as a possibility, it could get a little bit close for comfort there. Fortunately, though, it shouldn't make it too far westward. It should be weakening by that point. Let's hope. In the Eastern Pacific, not really a whole lot. There's the remnants of 91E could become something there. Really, our focus is going to be shifting now to to that signal in the Caribbean, which it's hard to get a consensus of all these ensemble members and like what the consensus is of them. Because these are only really the strong ones, and this is only like 15 out of the 50 members, so not really showing a whole lot. Not showing the big picture, pretty much. And this consensus is just way off, so yeah, really not that great at all. We don't have a whole lot of an idea, really, of where this guy is going. Is it raining in Manila? Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm nearing 3.5 thousand subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that as well. Speaking of animations, I did do a poll in my YouTube community tab. If you want to vote on what the next animation will be, you can do that. Seems like people want Halong to be my next animation. Which that will likely be the next animation, especially after the disaster in Alaska. Now I was asked, is it raining in Manila right now? If we take a look, looks like it. We got some rain showers going over Metro Manila right now, so yep. And these are some of these outer bands from the system, so yeah, that's totally expected out of it. Okay, I'm learning how to use this radar feature. Seems like some things do not want to work here. But yeah, you can see just some of those stray showers in the northwestern side of it impacting there. A lot of nice bursts, as you can see, this system has had over the past 24 hours or so. So it's pretty healthy. I don't know. I think it's Typhoon Lover asked, why is the first thing on the poll always voted the highest? I don't know. I guess I just put the most popular storm on there. I guess. Uh, Dragon Rush asks, what do you think of Tropical Storm 04S? Well, let's take a look at that, a little bit more in-depth analysis on that. Looking at the latest scatterometer pass on it. See. Ooh, we did have a scatterometer pass over here. That's right next to Samar, the center of circulation there. See, right there. Okay, well, I guess it gets cropped when it's right next to the coast. But yeah, the center is pretty close to Samar there, meaning it's a lot more to the south than forecasted. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center does a good job of forecasting it. But on here, the center's like over here at this point. So if you extrapolate that forward, you can kind of see where the track shifts more to the south. But on 04S, if we take a look at that, no recent ASCAP passes on here. Let me just look off screen the satellite estimates to see what they think on it. Satellite estimates of around 35 to 40 knots. It's forecast in the future. We can take a look at that again on here. See what the ensembles think of it. It does seem like they do want it to become a moderate tropical storm, possibly winds of around 45 knots or so, before it begins to then dwindle out beyond the next 3 days. It's uncertain, though, as to where it will go. Could it impact Madagascar as a stronger system? Sure, but again, it's a little bit far out. All right. Why does typhoon season start before hurricane season? Because they get typhoons year-round. So if outer rain bands hit NCR and Rizal, we'll have signal 1. If Ramil moves closer, signal 2 or signal 3. Signal 3 would be possible. It depends on how much it strengthens, though. I think signal 1 and 2 warnings are the most likely out of it. I'm very confident that they will shift signal 1 warnings to the south to at least include Metro Manila. Do you see Ramil forming an eye before hitting Vietnam? I'm not even sure if it's going to survive by the time it reaches Vietnam. The system will be weakening. This is like a 70 mile an hour, or a 60 knot tropical storm, so severe tropical storm. And this right here is a 35 knot tropical storm, so the low end tropical storm. So this thing's going to be weakening quickly in a day and will likely be dissipating by the time it nears Vietnam. And yes, the Bay of Bengal system could impact India. Yes, Manila could see impacts from this. This will likely get shifted a lot more to the south, okay, because it's already meandered. This forecast is like three or so hours out of date. The system's already like right down here, so it is going to meander more on this southern trajectory. Will there be heavy rainfall? Yes. Some of these areas here will get slight impacts, and these impacts should be beginning to shift more to the south. Yes, so rain will be a concern. Why will it be weakening? Mainly due to an increase in wind shear. Curious if any of the hurricane models have come out for it. Nope. Okay, so I'm just going to rely on. Let me close out of that. I can kind of show it to you on here. This is a little bit out of date, kind of. But as you can see here, the wind shear starts to increase quite a bit as it's in the South China Sea. Sea surface temperatures start lowering, and then relative humidity, there more dry air by the time it enters the South China Sea. So it will, like, conditions start to dive down more and more to become unfavorable by the time it becomes a typhoon. So, like, it's fighting against the conditions. Now, it depends on how strong of a system it becomes, as to how well will it be able to fight those unfavorable conditions. Okay, nothing out yet from there. Let's see, trying to find the European AI model. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay. Newest GFS run is coming out. That will be interesting. But if we take a look at the European AI model on here and the shear forecast for it, is going to be entering an area of pretty high shear. The South China Sea does get a lot of shear quite often, so this is what's really going to be tearing the system apart. Now, the reasoning for it moving to the south, I believe it's going to be a ridge that builds, a ridge right over there over southern China that builds and pushes it to the south there. And there will be another tropical wave that kind of moves towards the Philippines over the next 5 to 10 days. That will be something to watch as well, maybe. So we'll see what happens. Again, nothing too big happening soon. If you guys are curious about impacts in your local areas, you can always leave them in the chat and I will gladly answer. Let's answer some more questions there. Whether no updates from Pagasa, I can kind of refresh Pagasa's page. They can sometimes be a little bit late on forecast. I don't blame them there. But it has been interesting to see on many of these runs, the European AI model actually has shifted a lot more to the south there, so that's why I mentioned the fact Manila could see impacts. Then it shifted back to the north. We should see a trend shift back down to the south. Something I'm interested to look at is going to be the impacts in Alaska from this, from Nakri. Let me see, where'd it go? I think that's Nakri right there. Yeah, okay. Nakri there slams into Canada, looks like. And if I pull up the entire, I'll do North America. Yep, there's Nakri over there. I can, if I do this, no, will this work? Yes. Yep, there's Nakri over there. Kind of, yep. Yeah, plows into Canada there and quickly dissipates. Yep, there it is, and then, yep, quickly falls apart once it reaches Canada. Yeah, Nakri has not dissipated yet. Nakri is still going on as a 65-mile-an-hour post-tropical cyclone here. And we can look at satellite imagery to show you all what it looks like. There it is. A pretty powerful system, and we can trace it back. See, here's the low right over here. If we keep going back and back and back, there it is. So it pretty much gets pulled to the northeast, and we can see that on a pressure map more easily. So there it was as a typhoon, becomes a post-tropical cyclone. You can still trace it going off towards the northeast there. Let me zoom out some more. And then there's when it becomes a bomb cyclone there, completely bombs out there. And this is where it's at right now, and it's continuing to deepen. Then here's the forecast as to where it's expected to go over the next 48 hours or so. Meanders towards British Columbia. Before then, it dissipates. There will also be another bomb cyclone, 2 more maybe. So yes, the remnants are still going on. What are the chances of a subtropical storm forming in the North Atlantic? We can take a look at that system. Prefer to use Weather Nerds for this because of their custom satellite. We can see the system right now and how it's doing. Some decent convection going on right now, so it is blowing up some thunderstorms around its center. I believe this is the low that's trying to form. Did the Hurricane Center update at all? Did they have anything new to say about it? I'll say it's still 10% and still 30% for this disturbance. Okay. Looking at the latest, or the GFS run on the system, I think I can show it to you all here. I have the new GFS runs coming out, but I'll show the earlier one. So let's go to the North Atlantic here, and let's go to the previous run to kind of show what it's expected to do. And this kind of helps us see more if it's going to become a subtropical cyclone or not. Is it going to be able to sustain convection? This is very lackluster at this point, but it starts to get a little bit better. Still struggling though. And then now this is when it's trying to form its eye, and then this is likely when it would become a subtropical cyclone, right around here-ish. And this is hour 66, so a little bit out from now. You can see some more of that convection blowing up before it possibly becomes post-tropical again. But you can see it tries to develop an eye there. If we look at the winds, you can see that they're becoming a brief tropical cyclone, or a subtropical storm there. And you can see how close it is to that front. It is non-tropical there, it is frontal there, but then it closes off briefly. Becomes a tropical cyclone, not frontal there. Before then, it eventually has to merge with a front again. So this model run, the latest GFS run, does have it as a subtropical storm. And then if I show you all the cyclone phase on it, I believe it's this one right here. Yes, this is the 18Z GFS run here. We do see it does get a little bit more cool chord, but it does develop a more, it does develop a more deep warm core on this one. This is asymmetric cold core there. It's kind of in the middle there, but in terms of warm core, it does try to develop a deeper warm core, as you can see here on the forecast, before it then goes back to cold chord. Sea surface temperatures will be around the 23 degrees Celsius mark, maybe in the 17 to 23 Celsius. So that's fine for a subtropical cyclone. This doesn't really help at all seeing it. What is this? Use extreme caution. Use with extreme caution. Okay. Okay, current analysis. That's what that is. All right. Yep, and if I zoom out on this one, or zoom in on this one, yep, you can see it becomes more of a warm core by then. So it has a brief window to become a tropical, or a subtropical cyclone, excuse me. Is there going to be another storm after Fengshen? There could be. If I pull up the Climate Prediction Center forecast, and I'm going to use, or no, I can just show it. I'll show it to you on 2 graphics here. Let me try this. And then I will show it to you all on the Climate Prediction Center website. to show you all kind of the tropical activity that's going to be expected. All right, so tropical cyclone formation. Let's start off with week 2 here. This will be from October 22nd until the 28th. There's going to be this area here with a 40% chance that does include the Caribbean Sea. That's mainly the system we've been watching now for a few days now. It does have a moderate chance of formation here in some areas like Hispaniola, Nicaragua, Honduras, the Yucatan Peninsula, Jamaica. All those areas are highlighted by it. The Eastern Pacific could see another system try to develop there. Doesn't really seem likely, though. It's a low chance. In the Western Pacific, though, we will likely have another system that tries to head towards the Philippines there. That's with a over 40% chance of tropical development during October 22nd until the 29th. So we could see another system try to meander kind of the same path that this one's going. But this is not a great path here. We've seen some monsters take this kind of track. In the North Indian Ocean, specifically the Bay of Bengal, we do have another area of interest here with a over 40% chance, and then the Arabian Sea one with a 20% chance. And there's also somewhere highlighted in the Southwest Indian Ocean with a 20% chance. That's week 2, so that's October 22nd until the 29th there. And then if we go from the 29th through November 4th, that's this forecast here. So nothing in the Atlantic or Pacific. Another signal here. This was the one before. This is the one the next week there. Another signal for something to head towards the Philippines there with an over 40% chance of tropical development. Does include Palau in that. But that does also include Metro Manila there in that 40% category. Bay of Bengal there does see a chance of tropical development, as well as the Southwest Indian Ocean again. Okay, here I'll see if they've updated their forecast. Nope, nothing new just yet. Yes, Melissa is the next name for the North Atlantic hurricane season. Let's see. Ramil could have a westward shift and directly hit Metro Manila. Yes, so they could see signal 1 to 2 warnings shift down there because it's going more south. The forecast. Remember, their latest forecast was up here, ish, kind of where it's located at. Or sorry, wait, no, located right around here-ish. And the southern end of the cone was kind of like this, or whoops, kind of like, I believe like that or so. And now it's over here, so it's going to be shifted a lot more to the south on where it's expected to go. So yeah, signal 1 to 2 warnings could be upgraded. That's probably why they're taking so long. What's the website you're using for this? I don't know what website you mean. And I'm going to be wrapping this up in 2 minutes or so, since it's been almost an hour now. Yes, Lincoln, Philippines needs a break, and hopefully they'll get it after these next 3 weeks. Pagasa is now updated. Okay. Is it their website or on Facebook? Okay, I see it. No, they have not shifted those signal warnings. They have, looking at their forecast though, they have shifted their forecast a little bit more to the southwest. I will show that all to you now, and then I'll likely wrap it up. So their forecast cone, let's show that. Here, it has shifted more to the southwest there, as you can see. Pretty much the entire forecast there shifts to the southwest, even here in the South China Sea, shifts more to the southwest there. But yeah, shifts more down there. And if I show you all these signal warnings, Aurora is now under a signal 2 warning, mainly northern Aurora. Interesting though, they shifted a little bit to the south there, but they have not included Metro Manila in those signal 2 warnings, yes. Yet. Northern Samar, though, has been upgraded to a signal 2 warning, though, because of that shift. And some of these other areas in southeastern Luzon, the Bicol region. on. Let me just make sure of something, just make sure I'm spelling something right. Okay. Perfect. So let's start wrapping this up. Alright, so pretty much, oops, okay, yep, so the next live stream will likely be done, maybe in 2 days or so, but 2 days will already be over here, so probably not. It all depends. I doubt it's going to be done tomorrow because I don't think that there's that much popularity on the system, that kind of stuff, so I will be posting updates and forecast cones updates tomorrow on my social media there. So if you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, all those platforms, searching up either Cyclone Tracking or Hurricane Chaser Chase. All right, let's see what else. Okay. Um, so besides that, looking at the international view of tropics and other things I could do a live stream on, I'd probably expect either the North Atlantic system, depends on how big of a threat that becomes. That may be the next live stream, if Fengshen's not. But yeah, 94S or 04S may become a problem near Madagascar. Could see an update done on that, but things will likely calm down a bit in terms of land threats. Well, not exactly, because there is going to be a system threatening India afterwards, so we'll see. Check the JMA track. I'm going to pull that up. Oh, well, that's a cool website. Okay, what the heck are they forecasting, huh? Sorry. I'm kind of confused by this forecast. Man, okay. Um, hmm. I don't really agree with this in terms of how far north. This is not really, I don't think this is going to happen. Just by even looking at it, it's been moving to the southwest there. It's not going to make a jog like that all of a sudden. It's really going to try to go more north, kind of like this, I think. I don't really like that whole forecast, just my opinion. Alright. Yeah, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone is just a disaster there. They have no clue where it's going, really. I'm going to see if they have their new reasoning out yet. Yes, they do. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, you all might not be able to see the full thing. No, you can't. Okay, so can't really show it all, unfortunately, due to the fact on how the camera's positioned. Let's see here, a weakly defined low-level center of circulation with the bulk of the deep convection over the eastern semicircle. The ASCAD pass shows well-defined center with 30 to 35 knots there, which supports the initial intensity or initial position with high confidence there. The lower end of estimates, okay. Yep, environmental conditions are favorable with radial outflow, low vertical wind shear, and warm sea surface temperature values, and extremely high oceanic heat content. In terms of other things, so forecast discussion, 30W is forecast, while we're on 30, okay, is to track northwestward along the southwestern periphery of the low to mid-level tropical subtropical ridge. through hour 36, skirting the eastern coast of the Philippine Islands. Despite minimal land interaction, it will intensify to a peak intensity of 55 knots. That's a severe tropical storm by hour 24 due to favorable conditions. After making landfall over Luzon near hour 24, the system will turn west-northwestwards under the steering influence of the subtropical ridge to the north with significant weakening. The system is forecast to re-intensify after hour 48 to a peak intensity of 70 knots by hour 96. Steering during this time frame will weaken with a slow, erratic track highly likely. Interaction with a strong northeast surge events after hour 96 will result in a gradual weakening trend and sharp turn southwestwards. Forecast wind radii will expand significantly as the system's wind field merges with the northeast surge flow. Model discussion. Deterministic model track guidance is in fair agreement supporting the Joint Typhoon Warning Center track forecast with medium confidence. Reliable intensity guidance supports a near rapid intensification rate through hour 24, but is highly dependent on the exact track forecast and land interaction. Rapid intensification guidance is triggered, suggesting RI is possible. Rapid intensification is possible if the system tracks a bit further to the east over the deep warm waters. The problem is it's going a little bit more to the south of forecasted. In terms of confidence, though, it's medium. I thought they'd be low. That's a wide area for their forecast cone. Wow, okay. I'm not quite sure why it needs to be so wide. The only reason, though, is the wind radii there, and that's because of that northeast flow going off of Taiwan there. So a lot of tropical storm force winds all throughout here. If I show you guys the wind accumulation, you can see what I mean right here. All these winds over here, gusting up to 130 kilometers an hour are possible in some areas there. Let's see, any other questions? I'm probably going to end it now, so this is nearly midnight for me in the United States. So it's not the highest wind radii, but I mean it's fairly large to the point where it's almost impacting Hong Kong there in Hainan Island. So we'll see. This may get shifted more to the southwest, but it's interesting though that they mentioned rapid intensification they're expecting out of it, or it's possible. Anyways, that is all for me, or all from me for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and just one last note here. Again, the next live stream, maybe tomorrow, depending on how much of a concern it is, but I will be posting a forecast cone graphic tomorrow morning for you all in the Philippines. So be tuned, or be looking out for that. Here are my socials right here if you want to follow me there to see some of those cones. You can take a quick screenshot of that or whatever. If you use Facebook or Blue Sky, look up Cyclone Tracking. Discord, my Discord's discord.gg/chasesstorm. YouTube and Instagram, it is Hurricane Chaser Chase. You all are watching me on YouTube right now. And on X or Twitter, it is at Hurricane_Chase. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next update. Stay safe.